Welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm your host, Taylor Bennett, here in the Kokomo Automotive Museum. My next guest was recently named the Indiana Teacher of the Year. Help me welcome North Central High School Latin teacher Steve Perkins. Welcome.
Thank you.
And congratulations on a big honor.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Well, let's talk about the big news. You were recently named Indiana Teacher of the Year, complete with a visit to your classroom by the State Superintendent, Glenda Ritz. Tell me about that day. Was it a complete surprise to you?
You know, it really was. I knew that I was in the top 10 and then in the top 3, and we knew that decision was going to be made sometime in early October, but that Friday morning it was a complete surprise. We just started our warm-up activity for the day, and I heard my door start to open, and I turned around, and suddenly we were being invaded by local media cameras. So
you're like, what?
It was quite the surprise, but then I saw Superintendent Ritz, and she had our children by the hand, and I immediately made a beeline for our little girl who's 8, and that was the moment of comfort, because in the middle of all that I thought, oh, familiar face, my daughter. So
Well, it's probably no surprise to those that work with you. I mean, they were probably very excited.
They were. It was wonderful, and what was so neat, they had arranged for a good portion of the school, the students, to line the hallways. So as they led me out of the room for the press conference, there were all these students cheering and clapping, and that was the part that really meant so much.
Well, you're a Latin teacher. It's a position that's not typical anymore. How do you keep the education of Latin relevant right now?
That's a great question. And the thing is, Latin is really a course, while it's a language class, it's really a course in the humanities. And so we touch on everything. We touch on we touch on law, we touch on architecture, literature, art. All of those things have come from the ancient world and influenced so much of the modern world. And then we also try to find ways to make it practical into students' lives. One of the things we're very keen on is community service. And our students have found some really interesting and some unique ways to take what they've learned in the classroom out into the community of Indianapolis and to benefit others.
Well, since it is so unusual, do you think it should be reinstated along with cursive writing, like something normal that it's required in school?
You know, obviously, I think so. I think it'd be great to hire more Latin teachers. I think we're always looking for what is the well-rounded educational package that we can put together for children. And anytime that we lean too far in one direction, we've really missed something. So as I point out to my students, really all the subjects we teach in a high school fall under the rubric of the humanities. So you've got some science, you've got your math, your history, foreign language, English, and so forth. And really that forms the humanities, which is appropriate because we're about a very humane enterprise. We're about educating the full human being. And so we want to have as many aspects as we can in the school day that touch on that and really shape a complete person.
What do you find most interesting about it?
About the teaching of Latin? The students. You know, I've taught everything from middle school through undergraduate, and by far my favorite level to teach is high school. The students they're academically sharp, they're inquisitive, they're curious, they're creative, but they're also teenagers. They're fun, and so they're coming in with, you know, a concert shirt from last night's concert, or something to tell me that they'd seen on television, and that's the thing I like about it. You know, people will sometimes call Latin a dead language, and linguistically that's true because no one is learning Latin as a native language. But I've never seen anything so full of life. The students who take Latin are just bubbling over, again, with the life of humanity, and that's what I enjoy the most.
All right, quickly, can you say something in Latin?
One of my favorite phrases is, discipulos meos vos amo. My students, I love you all.
Well, thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you, Taylor.
I'm Taylor Bennett for Comcast Newsmakers.